it's not your duty to just dictate how people interact. But as much as we discourage tone policing, we have to admit that sometimes it really is your tone that makes what could have been a positive exchange quickly turn into a really negative experience. And this is especially evident when we're giving feedback or critique of someone's work. We all need to learn how to have some tact and not make excuses for not exercising said tact. I think one of the most detrimental things you can do is just be reckless whenever you're giving feedback. And then instead of owning the fact that you are being reckless, you try to skirt over this by saying something like, oh, well, I was just being honest, as if this little phrase is going to somehow soften the blow that you were just taking an opportunity to be a jerk. Believe it or not, it's very possible to give constructive criticism without being an inconsiderate, insensitive asshole because you think you can't live without being completely or brutally honest with someone. Just imagine that you're in a work meeting and a colleague has just presented a project that they've been working on for a few weeks. Everyone is seemingly impressed, but you see a significant flaw that could completely undermine the project's success. So now you're eager to help. You immediately point out the issues, emphasizing how it could derail the project and suggest a complete overhaul of their approach. You lay out your critique in detail, believing that you're helping the team to avoid a major mistake. But as you wrap up your critique, you realize that you might be coming across as a complete, total jerk. Silence ensues. It's now awkward. Your colleague seems upset. This is not the exact ideal situation, right? Well, learning how to deliver constructive feedback properly is really key to avoiding hurt feelings and embarrassment on your part or for your colleagues, friends, or loved ones. And trust me, just because it's a hard truth or just because you believe in being direct, there's always a right and wrong way to go about it, including being mindful of the time and place that you're in while you're giving this critique and giving your feedback. Constructive criticism doesn't mean that you have to be brutally honest and insensitively direct. It's actually a very supportive communication method that's aimed at helping someone to improve their performance or behavior. To do this, it focuses on a specific behavior or outcomes rather than on the individual themselves. And it's delivered in a positive and respectful manner. When it comes down to it, constructive criticism is supposed to provide clear and actionable suggestions for improvement, highlighting both the person's strengths and the areas where they need to improve. It's intended to encourage growth and learning rather than to judge or demonize, which is what many people always end up doing whenever they're giving critiques or feedback. The best way for you to avoid taking those cheap shots is to focus on the behavior and not the individual. You need to ensure that you are putting all of the attention on a specific thing, like the work or what should have been done, not taking low blows at the individual who was supposed to be doing the work. This way, you avoid the defensive reactions. It's so easy to jump into, oh, well, you forgot this or that, or you did this or that, which often comes off as ultra accusatory to the individual that you're speaking with. You can instead focus on it from an observational or behavioral perspective. For example, instead of saying, oh, well, you forgot to load the dishwasher, instead say something like, well, I noticed that the dishes are still in the sink. Is everything okay? Is there something wrong with the dishwasher? Did something come up? Did you need help? It can further help to also add what's expected. So, going along with the dishwasher example, you say something like, well, I expected that the dishes would be clean so that by the time I got dinner started, I would have a clean kitchen or a clean space to work in, like we agreed to. And yes, using I statements work very well in situations like this. You also have to learn how to choose your battles. Sometimes you may think that how you want to help a situation be better is beneficial, when in reality, it just may not be. Me personally, I walk around the house with earbuds in my ears all day long, all day long. And when my son gets home from school, he likes to make a lot of noise. Uh, at first, I used to fight against him, try to get him to stop, and then that would lead to the tantrums, the crying, the meltdown, and now he's making even more noise. When in actuality, he's not hurting anyone. I can barely hear the noise anyway because I have earbuds in my ears. So, me giving feedback or criticizing his behavior in that situation was so unnecessary. So I stopped doing it. If it's not hurting anyone, then keep your criticisms to yourself. You have to have a reason why to when you give your criticism and feedback. You have to have a desired goal in mind when giving this feedback, especially when the feedback that you want to give directly affects either you or the person that you're talking to personally. If you understand the why or the necessity, then you're going to take a minute to pause and think about how you're going to deliver this feedback and if it's going to be beneficial to all parties involved. And if you think that it's going to be beneficial or helpful, then you're going to want to give it in a manner where it's accepted and not fought against. This is a classic situation of think about what you say before you say it, and if you don't have anything nice to say or helpful to say, then just don't say anything at all. Sometimes being quiet is the best criticism you could give to someone. Pretty natural to want to interject how someone's work or behavior, their actions are affecting you emotionally or how it makes you feel. But one of the worst things that you can do is to draw out your criticisms with your personal emotions and feelings. So you'll come to them and say things like, well, I feel like you can do this, or I feel like you can do that, or when you do this, I feel like this, or it makes me, you know. So instead, you're going to want to use facts and fact based observations to give your feedback and then focus on the things that can be improved and how those things can be improved. By doing this, leaving your emotions and feelings out of the conversation, you're going to help to avoid any kind of emotion based confrontation and derailment, which can lead down a slippery slope of hurt feelings or anger and frustration with whoever's involved in the situation. It's really easy to cross the line and go from feedback and critique into judgment. The line is thin. We are so quick to notice when something's wrong while completely ignoring all of the parts that went right. So we have to start actively looking for opportunities where things went well, and while pointing out how they can be better, we can focus our attention on the things that went well and give our feedback and criticism in a way that would align moving up to the standard of the things that went well. For example, instead of saying that person's idea is wrong, try starting with and or how about. These can foster collaboration and teamwork as opposed to making someone feel like their opinions or ideas don't matter. So you see something went good. Okay, you did this really well. How about we also add this on so that whatever this part was that didn't work out so well can be just as good as the part that did work out well. And we can do this and we can do that. This way, you're bringing the attention and focus on the positive parts of the critique instead of having the individual focus solely on all the things that they did wrong. You can easily soften the blow of what can feel like negative feedback or criticism by simply showing the receiver some empathy. Take a moment to just acknowledge how much work, time, and effort that they put in. Many people feel ashamed or even embarrassed when feedback or critique is being given, yet we can put them at ease by simply acknowledging their value and their worth. So instead of jumping straight into the problems and issues, try telling them about your appreciation for how much time they dedicated or the sacrifices that they made to be able to work so hard and so on and so forth. You don't have to be a jerk and jump straight into pointing out all the flaws and issues with whatever project that they're working on, especially when you know just how hard they had to work and how much effort they had to put in. Just acknowledge people and let them know that you actually care about the work that they're doing and you want to make it better. You want to make them better. You don't have to be a jerk and be direct and tactless with your critique. At the end of the day, when we're offering up feedback and constructive criticism, it all boils down to just being respectful. In no way, shape, or form should you be using derogatory or demeaning language. It's just not appropriate. You treat others how you would expect them to treat you. You maintain a respectful and helpful tone throughout whatever discussion that you're having with them. Show some empathy and appreciation. Keep your personal feelings to yourself and don't judge people for just being people. Sometimes it's simply not the right time or place to give a critique. In the middle of a family dinner, no. In the middle of an important work meeting, maybe save it for afterwards. This is where your discernment steps in. You need to learn how to read the room, so to say, and provide feedback in a timely manner, but also in an appropriate setting. While we don't ever want to just fluff things up too much, consider concluding your feedback session by reiterating your confidence in the person's ability to improve and your willingness to support them. This leaves the conversation on a hopeful and positive note. It also reestablishes your confidence in the other person, which can be very helpful when they're trying to make any of the necessary improvements or changes. We're creatures of habit. So, of course, we're not going to be able to 100% make all of these changes over one night. Yes, it's going to take some practice, but it's very worth it. Knowing the ins and outs of constructive criticism can help you to be a better friend, a better colleague, customer, and so on and so forth. You need to learn how to strike a balance between honesty and empathy. Choose the right time and place. As we refine our approaches to other people, we not only contribute to the personal and professional growth of them, but also we enhance our own leadership and communication skills, paving the way for a culture of continuous improvement and positive changes.